This is the F15-RS folding electric bike from BPM Imports. It has a 750 watt Bafang rear hub motor with a 17 amp hour battery and has a real world top speed of 25 miles per hour. But before we talk about performance in detail, let's look at the design first. As you can see, it's fairly unique. Even if it kind of resembles the rad mini electric bike clones out there, the F15-RS still has something about it that makes it stand out from the folding bike category. Especially the way this midsection frame is curved like that. It has full suspension, front and rear. The front fork is fairly generic spring coil type, but it does have preload and locking features in case you're riding on flat surfaces mostly and don't want the added resistance of bouncing when trying to accelerate. But it's really the rear suspension that makes it unique. Check out these shocks in the back as it supports the weight of the rider directly under the seat. It even has the swivel on the lower area of the frame, adding more support for comfort and durability when going over bumps and sidewalks. And that's on top of the fact that these come with 20-inch fat tires that roll over potholes like it's high-fiving them. The fat tires will make your ride more stable, but it will also drag a bit when riding smooth flat roads, affecting your top speed. And the folding feature will appeal to anyone who has limited storage space for bikes, but because of the tire size and the overall frame design, it's pretty bulky and very heavy and actually won't fit in most trunks anyway unless you have an SUV or a huge space in your hatchback. So don't rely on this folding feature for convenience unless you want a good workout, because like I said, it's pretty heavy. Another potential downside to this type of folding design is that the distance between the seat and the handlebars is very short, making it extra difficult to mount if you happen to be a short rider or you have a huge baggage in the rack, or if you just can't kick your legs over, so keep that in mind. Still, I really like the way it looks, and everywhere I go it just turns heads left and right. Cars stopped at a red light often gives the thumbs up and nods in approval, and you can see why. The F15-RS has more of a badass small motorcycle look than a bicycle when viewing it from the side. And that's actually what this electric bike was built to do for you in performance as well, so let me just explain that to you now. If you want to get an exercise and work up a sweat, this is not the e-bike for you. It has 5 levels of pedal assist on a cadence sensor, not a torque sensor, at least as much as I can tell, with the magnets being very visible down there and having no torque arm in the rear. If you're staying on level 1 or 2 for example, you can still feel like you're riding a bicycle moving at about 15 miles per hour, but anything above that and the motor will kick in faster than you can pedal, making it feel like you're just kicking air because the cadence is so loose at that point. Even when going up a hill, this bike will push you up at 15 to 20 miles per hour. It's that powerful, making it very ideal for anyone who wants to use this as a main commuter bike and want to get to places without being sweaty. Just twist the throttle all the way. That is, as long as you don't need to go more than 15 miles one way. Because with great power comes a great strain on the battery. The lack of good pedaling assistance will have you riding this stride quicker than what you would think a 17 amp hour battery should be able to take you. So I will tell you right now, this is not the bike you want to rely on for any places that's far away from the next charging outlet. But I'm confident you can get 20 miles the most if you're riding it mostly on flat roads with no hills to climb. And that's on completely electric. You can also try to pedal too, which is plenty far enough for most casual rides anyway. And if you're really worried about the range, it does have the Silverfish style battery pack, so you can actually buy another one of these for about $300 online. Strap that on the rear rack or put it inside a saddlebag and you'll be good to go for 30 miles and up of sweet, comfortable cruising. Speaking of being comfortable, check out this seat. If you haven't been biking a lot, this is what they call a couch. Super wide, very comfortable to sit on for long periods of time. If you're not pedaling a lot. Again, this goes back to the apparent intentional purpose of designing and building the F15-RS as a cruiser bike, running mostly on electric power instead of relying on manpower. This seat is just not good for your glutes if you're pedaling hard, trust me on that. Because of the wideness of the cushion, you will feel a lot of rubbing of your thighs and groin as it awkwardly forces the shifting of your hips when you pedal. Which would actually be fine for short distances. It shouldn't affect you at all. I don't need to try to scare you about it. But if you're trying to extend the range of your travel by staying on low-level pedal assists, if you really want to push the distance, you're not gonna like this seat. So again, it's just meant for cruising, not actual cycling. One more thing to point out about the seat is the seat post. Well, specifically the clamp. You will need to buy yourself a $12 clamp replacement at the bike shop because this thing is either going to kill you mid-ride when it suddenly falls down and possibly damage the shock, or you have to use a vice grip just to adjust it if you want it to stay on for a while. The fenders are good and made of metal, possibly steel because it's very stiff and heavy. The headlight, if mounted properly, is more than bright enough to see in the night, and it's actually integrated into the power you can just activate by holding down the up button. The twist throttle has a red button here if you just want to use electric only with no pedal assist, but just keep in mind also, even if you have the button turned off, if you twist this handle while you're pedaling, the throttle will kick in, as in full power suddenly. This can be a good thing when accelerating from a red light or a stop sign, for example, but because this was never mentioned anywhere on the manual, it scared the crap out of me when I accidentally twisted it thinking I was still on pedal assist mode, and then I just suddenly got pushed forward. Speaking of manuals, don't rely on it, not even for assembly. I mean, they literally have multiple bikes in there, and not one of them looks like the one I was assembling. If you've never handled assembling a bike before, let alone an e-bike, it would be a good idea to just take this box to your local bike shop and pay them to assemble it for you. If not, then there are two things I want you to watch out for. One is the proper torque locking of the handlebar stem so it doesn't twist around while you're riding, because that actually happened to me. And two is the proper installment of the front wheel, because it has a quick release feature, which is easy once you figure it out, but if you've never done it before, it's time to go to YouTube and look it up. The fat tire doesn't make any difference, it's the same with any bike with quick releases. Overall, I think this bike is worth the $1,500 price range as electric bikes go. The design looks badass and comes with full suspension plus fat tires and a couch for a seat, emphasizing comfort while cruising. So again, let me make the point for the last time. You will want this bike for cruising, not cycling. It's essentially a scooter disguised as a bicycle. So the only way you're going to get a good workout from this is if you're climbing a steep hill on low-level pedal assist. If you're just cruising to work or exploring your neighborhood, wanting a good relaxing time, getting a breeze, then buy this, you will have a ton of fun. And because electric bikes tend to be very limited in supplies with each iteration of a design, if you like the look of the F15-RS, you probably won't be seeing this design again elsewhere in the next years to come.